We have a delivery network all over Karachi, and we are the first and the only Pakistani food company to have its own call center. We have a state-of-the-art call center.
So before I joined Failure Anonymous, and there's actually a club by the name of Failures Anonymous, which rhymes with a number of other such entities, I wanted to be a winner. And if you're 16 years old, you live in a very competitive society, it's quite normal for you to pick up one thing that you can be reasonably good at. And for me, that one thing was track and field. So in 1984, if you had asked me that, Jawwad, what do you want to do? I would have said that I wanted to be where you see Mr. Usain Bolt. I wanted to have my own world record when it came to my event, which was 800 meters, though you can't tell now by my size and shape that I could ever run, but I did. And it wasn't enough to have your own record. I think it was also, would have been nice to pick up at least 1 or 7, preferably at the Olympics. So in 84, Jawwad Ahmed Farid wanted to run the 800 meters flat at the 1988 Seoul Olympics. Now what I didn't know then, and it took a number of very painful lessons to realize this, is that before you can be a winner, it is very important for you to lose. Before you can win, you have to fail. And if you're not comfortable with failure, if that's something that bothers you, if that's something that is something that you're not going to accept or live with, then you will have issues. So what you see on the board in front of you is the final lap of the 3,000 meters event, also at the 84 Olympics. The person on the right-hand side is Mary Decker-Slaney, who actually tripped in the final lap. The person who tripped her was Zola Budd. There was a long controversy that ran for the next 10 years between the two of them. But the truth of the matter was that Mary Decker-Slaney lost. Zola Budd also lost. Both of them lost the event. The winner was somebody else. And at that specific point in time, I think the thing that held me back was that I feared failure. I feared the fact that, forget the Olympics, if I lose out at the local track and field event, if I lose out at the national selection finals, if I lose out at local events, what would happen? And that fear of failure, I think, is a very, very common theme in our society. तो जब वालिदैन बच्चों को गाइड करते हैं, मेंटर करते हैं, तो जैसे कि बेटा आप डॉक्टर बन जाएं, इंजीनियर बन जाएं, MBA बन जाएं, कंप्यूटर साइंटिस्ट बन जाएं, go join a nice entity where you can work for a living, where you have a regular paycheck, but whatever you do, for God's sake, don't fail. I think that's common advice. I think all of us have heard this over the last couple of years. So कुछ भी कर लें, लेकिन नाक मत कटवाइएगा, नाम मत डुबोइएगा और failure मत होइए. So that was my background. I had slightly different parenting. So my parents on and off gave advice that was a little different from what you get conventionally, but I ignored that. And because I didn't want to be where you see Zola Budd and Mary Decker, I actually walked away from a number of dreams over the last 2 decades of my life. I think my primary driver was I felt I'm not sure what will come out. I'm quite sure that I'll get overwhelmed. And because of that fear, gave up the chance to live on the edge, do something which is reasonably, could be labeled as quite exciting and interesting. Joined the herd immediately after school, took my place, my rightful place at the bottom of the pyramid. And I think that's something that almost all of us have done at some point in time in our lives. So think about this for a second. Walked away from a chance or a shot at nirvana only because I didn't want to lose. So my first lesson, and I think the lesson that I keep on preaching again and again, is that if you want success, you have to embrace failure. If you cannot accept failure, there is no way in hell that you're ever going to succeed. Okay? अगर आप failure accept कर लेंगे, आपकी ज़िंदगी बहुत आसान और बहुत आरामदेह हो जाएगी. I keep telling जहाँ कि बचपन में आप दुआ मांगते हैं, तो शब बरात की रात होती है, and you pray all night. शब कदर की रात होती है, you pray all night. And my common prayer in the beginning when I was younger was कि अल्लाह मियाँ मुझे इतना दे कि मैं बेनियाज हो जाऊं. So give me so much that I wouldn't even need to count or worry about it. And what I realized when I finally failed was that the route to beniyazi is not in wealth. The route to beniyazi is in muflisi. If you're comfortable with muflisi, I think you'll do very well. If you're not comfortable with muflisi, then you'll have issues. So for today, I have two stories. I think the first story is Avicina, which is the story of my first failure. And Avicina ki bhi interesting kahani hai. The kahani doesn't start here in Karachi. It starts in New York. It starts in the year 1999 when I was a student at Columbia and I wrote a business plan. The business plan got funded. The concept was very simple. The concept was that we wrote online education courses that focused on corporate finance. So finance is a very large field and you have a range of topics and subjects within that field. Some of them are quite advanced and high level and difficult to get by. And the courses that we created, these courses were then sold to 3 separate customers. So the first was an MBA